Hey guys, and welcome back. I am Sam Crack, and today we're going to be working on the airbag system in the car, specifically the SRS system, or the safety restraint system. Now, this is the part of the repair that I find the most fascinating. There are sensors all over a modern car in conjunction with a computer and of course your airbags and your seat belts that make up the SRS system. Usually repairing a deployed airbag is much more than it seems on the surface. Now I'm going to take you around the DXP car here, and I want to show you in comparison to the Spark how it's basically the same, but since this is a modified car, remember there's only one seat in the DXP car, how they kept the SRS system intact, not to mess with any lights on the dashboard or the SRS system in any way, but it's really kind of unique to the DXP car, and since it's unique, it's slightly more difficult. We're going to need a code reader in order to help us figure out exactly what is broken on this car. And at one point in this video, not only will I show you how I'm going to use the code reader in order to help me figure out what exactly needs repair in the DXP car, I'm going to be giving one away to you guys. So let's start at the front of the DXP car with the crash sensors and then work our way back. Alright, here's one section of our main wiring harness that's in the front of the car. You saw me remove this main wiring harness from that piece down there. That's the front core support. And right here in our wiring harness, this is one of two front crash sensors. You see there's a screw right here, and that screws it into down there. There's a place for it on the front core support. So when the car gets hit on the front end, there's one on the driver's side and one on the passenger side. When these sense impact, it sends the signal to the computer inside the car and lets it know which airbag to deploy. Now this right here is the second sensor for the Domino's DXP car, and as you can see right here on the end, the connector itself broke off. This is no longer any good, and we're going to take one from the donor car. Besides the two crash sensors in the front of the car, if we were to take the door panels off, we would find crash sensors behind the doors here. My best guess is that even though this door has been modified, that crash sensor is still somewhere in the side here as to not disturb the SRS system. Now I want to come over here to the donor car so I can show you what a base Chevy Spark SRS system is comprised of, and then we can compare it. It's basically the same thing, but since this car was modified, a lot of the interior being removed, there are some differences here that might make this a greater challenge, but our code reader should be able to assist us with that. So wherever there's an airbag in this car, it pretty much says it. You can see right there on the seat, there's an airbag. Obviously, I've removed the airbag here in the steering wheel, and also down here for the knee. Something that's pretty neat and not found on most economy cars, there's actually rear seat airbags. And of course, last but not least, we have our curtain airbag, and it says airbag along all the pillars. This is the driver's side rear seat. You can see the seatbelt right there. Of course, we've got our seatbelt right here. There's seatbelts also on the passenger side. But remember, all of our seats have been removed in the DXP car. So in the inside of the DXP car, if you look, there's no seatbelt here. There's also no seatbelt here. My best guess that these rear seatbelts do not contain electric charges like the front ones do. You remember in the original video where I showed everything that's damaged on this car, I showed you that that seatbelt over there is locked up. Now, what's interesting, again, as to not disturb the SRS system, they've taken out the side airbags from the seats that used to be in this car, and they've just left them intact, removing the rest of the seats. That's pretty neat. And I guess it might save your pizza in a collision. Now we know that this seatbelt is completely locked up. We know that whoever was sitting here during the accident was obviously not wearing it. If they were, there would have been a lot of slack. Now if we come and look at the passenger side seatbelt, this is where things get interesting. Now since they've removed the passenger seat in this car, they've actually tucked the seatbelt into the passenger seat pillar. My best guess the reason they did that is there is an electric charge on this seatbelt. And one question I have is whether this seatbelt locked up or not. I really don't want to go through the hassle of taking all this apart if I don't have to. So what we can do is use one of my diagnostic scanner to scan the entire SRS system, and it will tell me exactly what's been compromised. Oh, and last but not least, something we're not going to get a very good view of, but down here in the center console of the car, that's likely where the SRS module is located. And in some cases, you actually will have to remove that SRS module, send it into a company and have it reset, or just purchase a whole new one and have it programmed to the car. At this point, I'm looking into the future. I've read most of your comments. They say something like, hey, idiot, shut up and less talk, more work. But I really want to get the point across that these SRS systems in modern cars are very intricate. The number one reason for an inspection to be rejected at my local DMV inspector's office when it comes to rebuilding a car and getting inspected to make it road legal again is the fact that the airbag light is on. And to get that airbag light off, well, the SRS module has to be reset, and of course, everything has to be working. I know a lot of you guys were wondering, why is he going to replace that passenger seatbelt? There's no point to it. Well, if I don't replace it or repair it, well, that airbag light is still going to stay on the car. Let me show you a couple of diagnostic readers that will actually read and clear those SRS codes. Number one, to tell you exactly where the problem is. Like I said earlier, we need to find out what's going on with that passenger side seatbelt and all the other SRS fault codes. And number two, when we fix them all, we should be able to clear them and reset our module without even removing it in the center console. That saves us a ton of time, and of course, I don't have to ship it to a service, pay for it to be reset, or I don't have to go buy a new one. Let me show you exactly what I'm talking about. Here is my collection of automotive scan tools. Everything you see here will be linked in the description box below. What I want to do is tell you really quick which one is going to be the best for our job, and then maybe if you're going to be working on something like this or just generally working on your car in the future, which one might work best for you. So right here, we're going to start with the first and most basic. This is a wireless Bluetooth code reader. I've had this for probably 4 or 5 years now, and I probably paid around $30 to $40. These have come down in price. They look different than this now, but these run anywhere from $5 to $15. I keep one of these in every single one of my cars because it wirelessly syncs with your phone to an app like Torque. Basically, at any given time, if you get a check engine light while you're driving, you can pull this out, use it, and know exactly what your issue is. They're super handy, and they do give you a good amount of data using certain apps, but they're not super full featured. So I want to move on to these two guys. This is the C-Reader 6001. This is the TopDon Plus. Now basically these two will do similar things. You don't have to have a cell phone to use these or any of these either. These code readers will not only check your check engine lights, but they'll give you live data, whether it's your coolant temp sensors, anything that your car reports, these will tell you. Right now TopDon has offered 20% off this specific code scanner here, the Plus. It's in the description box below, and they're giving this one away to one of you guys. And since they're doing that, I would like to match them. I will either give away this C-Reader 6001 or this TopDon Plus to a viewer who not only is subscribed, they also have to just like this video and comment down below, live in the USA. You are entered to win one of these two. Let's move on to the last two. That is our TopDon Elite and our Autel Maxi Diag Elite. These two TopDons look identical, and they basically are, except this one costs almost twice as much, and that's because it offers the ability for you to scan not only your SRS system, but your ABS system, your anti-lock brake system. And on modern cars, that's pretty important. Recently on the Jeep I have, one of the ABS sensors went bad. Well, I was able to use the scanner and I was able to find out exactly which wheel the sensor was bad in, so I could go straight there, replace it, clear the code, and I was fixed. But the Maxi Diag Elite claims to be in every system scanner. That means every module that's in your car that is separate from the SRS, the ABS, the check engine light system. This should do everything. And it's served me very well. I've owned this a couple of years now. I've reset airbag lights on not only my Fiesta ST, but my Audi S3, the Money Pit Jetta. I've read live data. I've used this countless amount of times, and it has paid for itself. Now, like I said, I've had this a couple of years. I know the TopDon hasn't been out that long. So this is a little bit older. I'm sure the price has been reduced. I spent around $300 on this. So the takeaway here is, if you're going to be doing really basic automotive repair work, it's good to have this line around, but it's really good if you've got one of these standalone scanners. They're going to take care of the majority of what you need to do. If you're planning on doing rebuilding work, you're going to need to look into one of these two. Now, for the job, we have to use the Maxi Diag Elite. When I attempted to check the SRS codes using the TopDon Elite, well, it did find some of them. It just didn't find all of them. And I really, really wanted to love this scanner, especially at the $100 price point. So since this is the one that did work, we're going to use it, and we're going to try and find out what's wrong with the SRS system on our pizza car. Of course, our first code is the driver steering wheel airbag you see here. I've done a little bit of work on things since we last talked, and yeah, that's got a problem. So number one, driver steering wheel airbag. And we'll go to the next one. Driver seat belt. Retractor pretensioner. So we know, again, our broken, stuck seatbelt up here. There's a problem with that. If we go to the next thing, it is the passenger seatbelt. So we know that unfortunately our passenger side seatbelt is going to need some sort of repair. We'll continue going down until we see the driver seatbelt anchor pretensioner. What that means is there's a second pretension. I'll show you guys underneath here when we get to the seatbelt repair. There's one up here, and then there's one also down here. So it's telling us both of them have blown. We'll go to the next thing. I'm assuming the passenger side one as well. And then the driver's side knee airbag, which again, I've taken out since we've last talked. That sums up everything. So we need 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we'll be able to go ahead and reset our dashboard light. As I was finishing up with the code scanner, right before I shut the car off, it threw one other code, and it was chickens underneath the car. So let me check here if that's the case, and yeah, I mean, that's pretty accurate. There are chickens underneath the car. So to begin the physical repairs on the DXP car, I started with the donor car. I removed first the steering wheel airbag, as you guys have already seen, and we removed the knee airbag. This airbag comes out very simply, and all I did was disconnect its harness. Now, when it comes to the knee airbag, there's just 2 bolts underneath, one up there, and as long as you have this plastic surround removed, it comes out super simple. After pulling the parts from the donor car, my plan was to come over here and simply do the same exact thing, replacing the airbags here with the donor car's parts. But as you can see, things didn't go that straightforward. So instead, I focused my time on the seatbelts, and I removed the passenger seatbelt assembly here from the donor car. But as you guys know, this is a flood car. And while the flood was relatively low, this is our pretensioner on the seatbelt retractor here. And as you can see, this will pull out a little bit. If this was locked up, this seatbelt wouldn't move. But the part I'm slightly concerned about here is our second pretensioner. We can see the electrical connector right there. This is all corroded. And might this work? Yes, it might work. So that's small problem number one. We come over here. This is no problem whatsoever. We've got our steering wheel airbag, our knee airbag. They came out beautifully. And you can see right here, there's where the connectors go in the back. Everything here is good and ready to use. And here's our blown airbags. Now, the issue I had here, and why you saw my whole entire steering column taken apart, is this. I've never seen this ever when doing an airbag repair. And maybe you guys have. Definitely let me know in the comment section below if you have. These harness ends actually melted into the connector in the airbag. I don't know if you can see that. I've tried prying, pulling. I know you have to take this orange piece and pop it out first, of course. They will not come. They are stuck in there. I had to cut that out, and well, those are attached to the clock spring. So of course I'm going to be pulling that out of the donor car, and I don't want to do any more work on it without showing you guys how I'm doing that work. The next minor issue comes back to the fact that this is a custom car. You see the custom carrier here for drinks and sauces and extra pizzas and all that stuff. Well, where that pretensioner was that I just showed you that was corroded, in this car, it's got to be somewhere underneath this thing. And while I have a shop manual showing me exactly how to remove pretty much every single piece and part, disassemble this car down to its bare frame, I don't have one that shows me how to remove a custom drink, sauce, whatever they call this thing. And what was supposed to be just one fun day of me taking off parts from the donor car again, swapping them to the interior of the pizza car, turned into a little bit of a roadblock. Now, there's no issue here that doesn't have a solution, and we're going to get to that in the second part to this video. I know, guys, I'm sorry, but I want to do things in a very logical order, and I want you to see how intricate, like I've said a million times in this video, that SRS system is. That system has to be repaired properly. Otherwise, the pizza car will be nice to look at when it's done, but when they don't want to improve its inspection because I didn't repair that system properly, well, we just don't want to go there. So I hope you did enjoy the exploration into the SRS system of the pizza car as well as the donor car. If you did, and if you felt like you learned something, make sure you hit that like button. If you do that, you're only a few steps away from entering to win one of those 2 code readers. Everything you need to know is in the description box below regarding the giveaway, as well as my contact information. If you have any questions whatsoever, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Email, Instagram, it's all down there. Guys, thanks a whole lot for watching, and I will catch you very soon.